Namaste and welcome everyone for today's webinar on why integral yoga matters in the 21st century. I'm Ankur Patel, your host, joining from Los Angeles. Please let us know where you're zooming in from. We have our wonderful faculty panelists, Srimati Radhe Phao and Dr. Vladimir Yatsenko joining from South Carolina. I'll give them an introduction shortly. Dilip G from Maryland, thank you for joining. Dave from Miami Beach. Chad from Missouri, it is my pleasure to host these webinars. Ravi Khanna from Ohio, Justin from Krakow, Poland. Glad to have you on. Sri Rajji from Bangalore. Awesome. All right, let us get started with today's webinar on why integral yoga matters in the 21st century. And you feel it. We know what's going on. There is so much change going on in the world around the globe. There's uncertainty that is scary. And I think we are feeling that there is an imperative for humanity as a whole, all of us, to undertake a fundamental transformation. I feel it. I think it's in the air. I think a lot of people are talking about it. And in today's webinar, we're going to dig into what that transformation could look like. And rooted in the teachings of Sri Aurobindo, integral yoga is a comprehensive, disciplined path toward the realization of our highest destiny, the complete spiritual transformation of earth life, leading to a state fully expressive of the spirit in the material world. So in this session, featuring Radheji and Vladimirji, we'll clarify kind of the foundational tenets of integral yoga and presenting it as a systematic approach to life that demands and drives transformation in every aspect of the being. We're going to emphasize that humanity, governed by the limitations of the rational mind, is actually just a transitional phase whose outcome is dependent on our conscious participation in evolution. It's pretty heavy stuff. This is going to be a great webinar. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Ramanji from Orlando, Florida, Radha Ellen Katz from Los Angeles. Glad to have you on for today's webinar. Let me now introduce our faculty, our guest speakers, just briefly. Radhaji is the executive director of La Grace Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center and now a visiting faculty at HUA. And she integrates her Harvard-trained financial expertise with Ayurveda, integral yoga, and Sri Aurobindo's teachings to foster a holistic education and transformation. And then we also have Dr. Vladimir Yatsenko. He's got a PhD in Indian philosophy, is a Sanskrit scholar, he's an educator, also a visiting faculty in our community education division, and he specializes in Vedic studies, also integral yoga psychology, Indian philosophical traditions inspired by Sri Aurobindo and the mother. And so with that, let us get started with today's webinar. I got a little poll up. You can put your questions in the Q&A section as they come up, and we'll get to them. But I'm excited and happy to get this conversation started on the transformation that we need to undergo as a species and how Sri Aurobindo and this integral yoga can help us get there. So with that, let me hand it over to you to get us started.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, NHG. And just good morning to you, and good morning and good evening to everyone that's on this call. And before we get started, just on behalf of the La Grace Center, Vladimir and I would very much like to express our gratitude to Hindu University of America for providing this platform today. And it's truly an honor to share about integral yoga with the community that has such a deep respect for India's Vedic and Vedantic wisdom. Of course, I also would like to thank each of you for joining us at such a busy time of the year. I know it's always filled with holiday celebrations and gatherings and travel, so we appreciate and thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. So as Ankurji mentioned, today we'll be exploring why integral yoga feels so relevant to the 21st century, and not so much as a rigid dogma, but as he mentioned, a systematic way to approach the transformation of our everyday lives. And the challenges that we see around us, as he pointed out, it's in our industries, our societies, our environment. It's not random. It's not random chaotic events. In fact, according to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother and Integral Yoga, these are the very symptoms of a world that's in an immense transition. In fact, the Mother noted, quote, "When a new era is born, the confusion between all the more intense becomes all the more intense and dark at the time the light is about to dawn." So what I'd like to do today is go ahead and turn the floor over to Vladimir, who will discuss the core aim of Integral Yoga and share why its vision is particularly essential for the world we live in today. And then I'll say a few words about the unique features of Integral Yoga before we open it to Q&A. So with that, Vladimir, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Radha. Thank you, Ankur. This is really a privilege to speak on this profound topic to the members of Hindu University of America. And the importance of integral yoga in 21st century, which is kind of interesting topic, why in the 21st century, yes? Is because it is futuristic. It's open to the future. It's not open so much to the past. It wants to deconstruct all the spiritual values in the past and bring them forward as those elements which are needed for manifestation in the future. So what is this integral yoga about, this word? What does it really integrate, after all? Yeah. So if we think of it deeper, we can see also that Sri Aurobindo starts his Life Divine with these two fundamental chapters on materialist denial and the denial of the ascetics. And so these two denials, one is denial of the physical nature and asserting the spirit as the major and the only reality, what we have in the India as Advaita, resulting in the Advaita, yes, Brahman, Satyam Jagat Mithya. So, and another side, Western side, when they started to assert power over nature, they slowly deviated from the spirit and became materialistic, so to say. So there's two different poles, Western paradigm of knowledge, which asserts matter, nature, everything in nature, life in nature, and the other paradigm asserting spirit over nature, looking at nature as some kind of an illusion. And the integral paradigm, the integral yoga, combines these two, brings them back to one paradigm. And the mother spoke about this, that there was an ancient pre-Vedic, pre-Chaldean integral vision tradition where these two were together. Spirit was manifesting in nature. Nature was the enterprise of the spirit. These two forces were going together. And it was known in the Vedic times as the concept of the sacrifice. Sacrifice is a constant, ongoing transformation of our nature by the presence of the spiritual powers. But it was too difficult to maintain because humanity was not ready. So what happened? The split took place. Part of this tradition stayed in India, asserting spirit over nature, and the other part, Chaldean part, Semitic part, went astray, asserting more the power over nature, resulting in alchemy, science, scientific approach, and materialism in the West. Now the time has come to bring these two back together, because only these two together can actually resolve all our problems. So this is the integral yoga, what it integrates. It integrates the East and West, brings back to this pre-Vedic, pre-Chaldean integral vision of reality, and the separation of the unified vision which happened in the post-Vedic period has to end. So to speak on Sri Aurobindo and the mother is very difficult, because both of them represent actually this fundamental approach of unity of Eastern and Western paradigm. Sri Aurobindo, being born in Bengal, in Calcutta, was sent to London to study from the age of 7. And he went to St. Paul's School, the most prestigious school in London. Then he joined Cambridge University. So he's totally educated in the Western paradigm. And with that knowledge, he comes to India and he discovers the richness of Indian spirituality. So you can see immediately this, presupposition which determines what Sri Aurobindo is to become. And when several biographers of Sri Aurobindo tried to write his biography, he told them, what can you write about me? My life was never on the surface. You can write only surface events which are not really reflecting what is happening in my life. So I will give you a kind of brief outline of his life, because it's not the purpose of today. We cannot really go deeper into this profound life of Sri Aurobindo. So he was born, as you know, in Calcutta in 1872. At the age of 7, he was sent to London. He studied there till 1893. And 1893, he came back. Actually, interestingly, first time he came to India. And what happened in 1893, as you know, Vivekananda was speaking in Chicago in this forum. The same year, Vivekananda speaks there, and Sri Aurobindo arrives at India. And at his arrival, he felt the first fundamental experience, the descent of peace. He said it was so pervasive, so fundamental when he stepped on the soil of India in Mumbai. And from 1893 to 1906, he was the professor and vice principal at Baroda College, that Baroda University famous. Actually, I'm graduated from that Baroda University, from the very department where he was the principal, and he had the room upstairs. I visited that room many times to meditate, where Sri Aurobindo was sitting. Nothing much changed from that time till the new times in Baroda. And then he was taken by this, movement for independence of India. And he came to yoga in a very interesting way. He had an experience. He saw, actually, he was agnostic. He didn't believe in the divine. And when he saw what yoga power of yoga can do, and because his brother was sick, had malaria and very high fever, and so they invited one sadhu to come to cure him. So sadhu came and gave mantra onto the water, crossed the water, and gave him to drink, and within few minutes he was cured. His brother was cured. He saw that power and he thought, I need this power to liberate my country. So he spoke to the Lord. He said, if you are there, I'm not sure, but if you are, you know what is in my heart, he said. You know that I'm not asking for mukti or anything for myself. I ask only for power to liberate my country. So the power was given to liberate not only India. As you know, that 15th of August is Sri Aurobindo's birthday, and the 15th of August is the Independence Day of India. That power was granted, but he received the power to liberate all of humanity. And from that point, we can view India as the central part of this liberation of humanity, the central role of India to bring this knowledge back. These two paradigms have to come back into one grand vision of Sri Aurobindo, integral yoga. So he had profound spiritual experiences afterwards. He met with Vishnu Bhaskar Lele in January 1908. And that yogi, that Maharashtrian yogi, taught him meditation. And he told him to sit down and to overview thoughts which are coming to his mind, not to interfere, not to follow them, just view them how they are passing by. And then, when he trained himself in this way for 3 days, he could cast them away before they could enter into his mental space. And the silence descended upon him. He got the realization, what is known as silent Brahman or Nirvana. In 3 days, he reached Nirvanic experience. He said he saw himself like in the movie with others. He was objectively somebody else from that fundamental piece. And later in May 1908, he was arrested because he continued his freedom movement, and he was preparing the bomb that was known as Alipur case, conspiracy case, and he was put into jail. I actually visited the jail in Calcutta. They have their Sri Aurobindo's picture in his cell. And thieves and robbers come there and put their incense sticks, you know. They are also praying to Sri Aurobindo as their own, one of them. And in 1 year, in jail, he received the initiation by Sri Krishna. Krishna himself came to him. And as Sri Aurobindo says, he put into my hands the Gita and showed him around. And he had this realization of spiritual consciousness. He saw Narayana in everybody and everything. It's a profound experience. So after that, in Uttarpara speech, he spoke about it, and he told everybody what Krishna told him or taught him, that everybody does his work, Krishna's work, and he has plans for Sri Aurobindo for this yoga. So from that time on, in 1910, he moved to Pondicherry. He received a dash, go to Pondicherry. And from 1910 till 1950, 40 years, he stayed there without moving out. In 1926, when already Mother was there with him, Mother arrived in 1914 first time, and finally in 1920, he established Sri Aurobindo Ashram. And himself, from November 24th, 1926, he went into seclusion. He was in his room for 24 years without leaving the room. It was his absolute yogic sadhana. And he says that he did this for the sake of hastening the evolution of humanity, to bring down the supramental consciousness. In 1950, he left his body, and the whole force which he accumulated in his body, he transmitted to the Mother. And the Mother continued this work, and on February 29th, 1956, she finally broke through the lid and brought down the supramental consciousness to earthly atmosphere. For the first time, supramental consciousness came down and touched the atmosphere of Earth. And she says that the effect was immense, that everybody's soul, which she saw as shining 5-volt bulb, was shining like 100-volt bulbs immediately. But people even didn't notice any change because they live on the surface. Yeah. This is in brief about the life of Sri Aurobindo. Of course, we cannot cover everything. Supramental consciousness. What is this? It is known, some of you may know Panchakoshas, some of you may know Taittiriya. Sri Aurobindo says that philosophically he didn't bring anything new. It is Vijnanamaya Purusha, or Vijnanamaya Atma. This is supramental consciousness. It's a higher level beyond the mind, above the mind. So first Manomaya Purusha, our mental being, and higher levels of mind is Vijnanamaya Purusha, beyond which we have Anandamaya Purusha. Now I want to dive a little bit into show you the symbolism of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, and it will explain their yoga also. Could I share the PowerPoint?
Yes, please do. Please do.
Thank you. So this is what I wanted to show you, the symbol of Sri Aurobindo, what it really represents. It's amazing. And you can see immediately here two symbols of the Chaldean tradition or Semitic tradition, six-cornered star of Solomon, and this lotus within the Vedic tradition, the avatar within, with 9 streams of waters, and the square within. The square is the supermind or Vijnanamaya Purusha, yes, which connects the triple transcendental world of Sat Chit Ananda with Manas, Prana, and Annam. These 3 worlds above transcendental, 3 below, and the connecting world of Vijnana, of supermind, where the worlds of the manifestation in time and space are forged by the forces of Vijnana. And within we see this lotus of the avatar. So here is the description. The descending triangle represents Sat Chit Ananda, being consciousness bliss, be translated. Some of you, many of you know what it is, studying the philosophy of Hinduism. The ascending triangle represents the aspiring answer from matter under the form of life, light, and love. The junction of both, the central square, is the perfect manifestation having at its center the avatar of the Supreme, the lotus. The water inside the square represents the multiplicity of creation, where the Satchitananda is forged in time and space. So it's interesting from the one point of view to look at this in this way. You see Satpurusha, Chaitanya Purusha, Anandamaya Purusha is the higher triangle, intersects with the lower triangle, Manomaya Purusha, Pranamaya Purusha, and Annamaya Purusha, or mental being, vital being, and physical being, through this level where these two come together, the spirit and matter come together in Vijnana. And this is integral yoga. Integral yoga is focused on bringing the higher level of consciousness into manifestation. And by that, opening up to the transcendental spirit. This is the sign of Sri Aurobindo, which actually tells us what integral yoga is about. And there is a sign by the mother, or the symbol of the mother. Here it is. It's also a very ancient symbol, which has 12 petals, 12 stars. It is known in Semitic tradition also, and it is from Alma, when she was in Algeria, that mother, actually, Mira Alfasa, found out that she is the Divine Mother because the 12 pearls or 12 stars were above her head. So these are the 12, and there are 4 powers of Mahashakti: Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati, and there are 12 qualities of the soul. So the central circle, this very central circle, represents the divine consciousness, the 4 petals. Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati represent the 4 powers of the mother. The 12 petals represent the 12 powers of the mother manifested for her work. and look at these petals: sincerity, humility, gratitude, perseverance, aspiration, receptivity, progress, courage, goodness, generosity, equality, and peace. And notice how they are located. Maheshwari is located with mainly directly with sincerity and humility. The Mahalakshmi with perseverance, aspiration, gratitude, receptivity, connecting. Mahakali, progress and courage. Maheshwari with generosity and equality. Amazing. And now things become much more psychological to us. It's no more the philosophy of some metaphysics on. It's a very psychological symbol. So it's just a brief overview of their symbols. And now I want to say a few words on the integral yoga. Of course, I didn't have time enough to speak on the mother. The mother actually needs to be mentioned, that from her childhood she had these very profound spiritual experiences which she could not understand what it was about. She was born in 1878 in Paris, and from her 4 years old, as she says, she had this very strange meditations. She was going to the worlds above, and then she was doing very strange things nobody could understand. She could not speak about them to others because they would not understand. As Sri Aurobindo says, from her childhood, she was already totally conscious of the divine. And through these experiences, some beings started to come to her, and she called one of them Krishna. And when she arrived in the ashram for the first time in 1914, she saw Sri Aurobindo and she recognized in Sri Aurobindo Sri Krishna. She thought this was the Krishna who was coming to me. So there was kind of ongoing saga before they met. And when they met, and finally she arrived in 1920, she started an intense yoga with Sri Aurobindo. And in 1926, before going into seclusion, he announced the mother as the mother. From that time on, she was known as the mother of 4 aspects of Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, and Mahasaraswati. And all the ashram work was on her. He was in seclusion and she was doing everything else. And in 1968, she founded Auroville. Auroville is the international city. I was part of Auroville for 27 years. I lived there. And it's an amazing enterprise. And in the middle of the city, we have Matri Mandir, the Mandir of the Mother. So, few words about the yoga. There are 4 major movements of consciousness which we have to master in this yoga. And that is heightening, ascending consciousness, rising above the head and above to the higher consciousness, widening, expanding consciousness, going down deep into the depths of one being, to the bottom of things, as it were, and going within the heart. Notice we are covering all the deepening, heightening, diving deep, widening movements of consciousness. All of them are described in details, what to do, how to be, and how to proceed. And I want to mention for our kind of understanding these 2 systems. There is, in fact, 2 systems simultaneously active, says Sri Aurobindo. One is concentric, a series of rings or sheaths with psychic at the center. And now there is the vertical, heightening, or the ascending scales of consciousness, like the steps or series superimposed planes. So if we look at the concentric, we will see that this is the surface. Here you see Prakriti and this Purusha. So these are the terms Sri Aurobindo is using. So we have the outer mind, the outer vital. Vital is this level of our emotions, feelings, and sensations, our torso, 3 chakras on the torso, and our physical consciousness, outer physical being. They are all driven by ego. Ego sense is built and managing these outer beings. And there is behind them, there is a subliminal or universal level of inner mind from which all the elements come into the outer mind. Inner vital, all the feelings, desires, sensations, everything comes from there, flows like the waters into our outer mind if we are focused on them or we are expecting them, anticipating those feelings. And there is even inner physical and even subconscious, subliminal, vaster, what we refer to in Indian philosophy as chitta level, where all the subconscious storage of our past experiences is located, from which all these experiences are rising to the surface. And beyond them, there is true mental, true vital, and true physical selves, referred to as Annamaya Purusha, physical self, Pranamaya Purusha, yes, the vital self, and Manomaya Purusha, mental self, mental Purusha. Beyond them, there is the psychic being, Antaryamin, or Antaratma, or Chaitya Purusha in Indian system. Above the head is Atman, Purusha, as witness, Sakshi. So above the head, Sakshi, within the heart, Antaryami, psychic, and these two are driving man, these two, Atman and psychic being, manifesting through this system, which is given here in this way. So this is the concentric. If we look at the levels of consciousness from bottom up, we will see this picture. And I'm using the picture of Huta, which was painted together with the mother. Mother gave her the description of the levels of consciousness, starting from the inconscient, dark blue, physical. Notice physical is red, like the blood, interesting color. And then we have vital, which is violet, mind, and levels of the mind till illumined mind are all blue shades. And then we jump into the intuitive mind, yellow, entering into the beyond our Sahasrara chakra. Sahasrara chakra is illumined mind, and above there are more levels. And these levels are intuitive mind, overmind, and finally supermind. And supermind is this golden, liquid golden color, as Mother describes. And beyond the supermind, there is the bliss, consciousness, existence, and unmanifest. And given in these beautiful colors, the bliss is that saffron color, the color of India, this kind of sannyasi color. And then this silver, liquid silver consciousness, pure white existence, Sat, and Asat is pure white even more. And beyond, there is someone. Mother called him the Supreme Self, beyond all these levels. So this you can look at it in different way, in this way also. I took this picture from the expression, from the explanation by Matthias, Dr. Matthias, of our surface consciousness. You can see on the surface we behave, then surface nature, where we are making this behavior feasible for us. Then there is inner nature, and there is true being. So these 4 levels also are described in the psychology as separative indirect knowledge, separative direct knowledge, knowledge by intimate direct contact, and knowledge by identity. You can see them all here. So this is concentric, going deep into the depth. Here I will stop. And in case you will have some questions, we can then speak about them later.
Wow, that was
Thank you.
so nice. Love the overview, the symbolism, and even the story. You know, you studying at Baroda University and in the same space, describing the mother and her contribution of a wonderful, wonderful overview. Appreciate that. That was beautiful. Radheji, do you want to jump in and direct it a little bit?
Absolutely. And thank you also, Vladimir, for that overview. As you all can see, that integral yoga has just tremendous breadth and at the same time, tremendous depth. And what I'd like to do is really complement this overview that Vladimir has given with some kind of practical and at the same time unique features of integral yoga. And so as I do this, you're probably going to hear a few echoes of what Vladimir has just shared. So one of the first questions from those who are new to integral yoga is oftentimes, what daily practices should I follow? And, we are really conditioned, this culture, because we love to have kind of this 10-step program, or even better, a 3-step approach. And so it's often a surprise to hear that there's actually no fixed methods or processes that must be followed in this yoga. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that there aren't methods and processes, because there are, but they're not fixed to a particular form or a particular method, not even to a particular sequence. So while methods and tools like meditation and asanas and mantras are available and certainly helpful to most of us, they're not prescribed in a fixed sequence nor in a set manner. And that surprises a lot of people. But Sri Aurobindo and the mother understood that we're distinct, individualized souls, and with our own specific combinations of evolutionary needs. And so they felt that any fixed method or any fixed process would actually deny our inherent individuality. So in an integral yoga, one is free to choose the tools that support their growth. And really the main requirement is to have a sincere aspiration for spiritual growth and progress, and a self-opening to the Divine Mother and her grace. And so this is one of the unique and practical aspects of integral yoga, this freedom of method. And I saw in the chat, as Vladimir was speaking, a question about, how is yoga any different from asanas or from mantras or for pranayama, and this is how yoga is considered different, at least according to Sri Aurobindo and the mother. These are tools to help us perfect our outer being. And the real approach is one of aspiration, and we're free to use any of these tools to help us. So yoga has a much broader philosophical and spiritual connotation than simply a set of tools, if you will. So there's another unique feature that I wanted to mention, which is that we begin on this path exactly where we are. There's no predetermined requirements or outer prerequisites to begin. And it's not a matter of kind of cleaning up our life first. We really start with where we are, with our struggles, with our environment, with even all of our shortcomings. So nothing in life, work, family, daily activity, social engagements, nothing is considered actually a hindrance. So each of these become actually the very material essence for transformation. They become the field of our spiritual practice. So there's nothing that needs to be abandoned or thrown out or avoided. It's not essential that we become a vegetarian, which you all may laugh, but we actually get these questions. And it's not essential that we have to give up financial prosperity or engage only in certain activities. Nothing needs to be removed from our life in order to start on this path of integral yoga. And that's because integral yoga is an inner yoga. It's about an inner attitude. Our outer activities are really simply an expression of a particular inner attitude or poise that we hold. So at the end of the day, what's to be rejected is not the activity itself, but the attitude behind that activity, the desires, the preferences, the fears, the attachments that we all have. These are the things to be rejected. And integral yoga is this inner yoga, and it embraces all life. It's a life-affirming yoga. It's a yoga that occurs in life itself. It requires us to have issues, confrontations, obstacles, challenges that need to be transformed, because the whole purpose of integral yoga is transformation of our outer being, of this outer mind, vital, and physical. So the other very practical aspect of this yoga is that there's no prerequisites. One starts from where they're at. And the third unique feature, Sri Aurobindo points out that there is a yoga, and this is something that Vladimir referenced, that there's a yoga or yajna, a sacrifice that has been going on for millions of billions of years by nature. And the aim of nature's yajna is to manifest outwardly that which is already involved within, to reveal its inborn divinity, the divine within. Which means that the divine is everywhere, here and now, has always been in everything, right? Everything down to the smallest grain of sand or in every atom. But the yajna has been going on in nature without our conscious participation. And therefore, it's been going on slowly and tardily. But now Sri Aurobindo and the Mother says we have the choice. We have the freedom to consciously participate in nature's yajna, and thereby accelerating Earth's and humanity's evolutionary effort. Sri Aurobindo tells us that when yoga is done consciously, quote, all life becomes a gathering up and concentration of the scattered tendencies of the lower nature into a powerful, focused drive for complete divine realization. So these are just a couple of the outstanding and practical features of integral yoga, right? No fixed methods and processes. There are methods and processes available to us in this yoga, but none of them that are required in any fixed way or process. And two, that there's no prerequisites. We begin on this path wherever we are. We start from where we're at. And third, the all life becomes yoga when done consciously. Now, I have to mention here that all this may seem pretty easy and very doable, but that's not the point that I'm trying to make here. I'm trying to indicate that it is very practical approach, and it has some very unique features, but in reality, it is probably one of the most difficult yogas to engage in. And that's because of what Vladimir mentioned. It really requires full transformation of our outer nature, and not just individually. This is a yoga for humanity. This is a yoga for the earth. So it's full transformation of not only our outer nature individually, but for humanity as a whole, and the transformation of the earth consciousness. And so there's a lot more to it than sometimes meets the eye. So I wanted to just come back to the theme of this talk, why integral yoga matters in the 21st century, because obviously we're living in a time of very intense global confusion. But in the light of this yoga, that confusion is actually seen as the friction that often precedes a major shift. And it's clearly a situation we're in now where the old maps and the old methods just don't seem to work as well as they used to. And this is why Sri Aurobindo and the mother stress the importance of integral yoga. Not because it's the only way, but because it was specifically designed as a sadhana for this kind of a transition. It offers us this compass for navigating a new future that is still being born. And what we'll do in the first quarter of our upcoming course, we're going to explore in much more depth this roadmap offered by Integral Yoga through examining a little closer Sri Aurobindo's and the mother's personal sadhana. And we'll look at the metaphysical structure of the creation that Vladimir gave an overview, and then really zero in on the role of the soul in this evolution of humanity. And so we're looking forward to offering this course. And again, we really appreciate the opportunity by Hindu University of America. And now I think I'll turn it back, Anuka, to you, and perhaps any questions or comments that folks have.
Wonderful. Great overview. And again, getting to the practical nature of how do we actually do it and where do we start? Well, you can start by taking this course, right? So I put the details in the chat. The path to conscious evolution. We can, again, consciously evolve, right? So it's going to be on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's going to start January 10th. And it's probably going to be part of our certificate program in Hindu studies. I don't know if it's been allocated as an elective or a core requirement, but this is an amazing opportunity. I'm so glad that we were able to, partner and find you all and offer this course. We're, again, at Hindu University of America. We are a platform for folks like yourselves who have been doing this good work and can share this knowledge to a broader audience, including, of course, our Hindu University of America students. I've got a poll up. Let us know if you're interested in taking the course, if you've taken a course before, maybe a retreat. Yeah, so amazing conversation. We've got enough time for a few questions. Some typical stuff that you started to get into, but people often ask. Dave, Mr. John Jones, thank you for joining from New Mexico, Albuquerque. Thank you for being here. Dave is asking, and this comes up all the time, and you've heard it, and I just want to hear your take. All right, how do you explain that yoga is much more than just asanas and pranayama? Right, the Western practitioners and that integration aspect of it, and then also just define yoga. Sometimes we call it a union of the mind and body. Dave is saying he understands it as a path. How do we approach this at a more general level?
Radha, you want to speak, or shall I?
Sure, I can take a stab at that question, and you can elaborate upon it. But so again, what we see for asanas and pranayamas and meditation, the West often classifies this as yoga, but they're actually, as most of you know, they're tools, they're methods, they're processes that can be used for any spiritual path. And although, and I think it's answering perhaps part of another question there, although integral yoga doesn't say that, here's the process, here's the mantra, here's the meditation, and do it in this sequence, and then you get initiated to the next level and then the next. Not at all. What it does is understand that we're unique, and it takes us from where we are spiritually and where we are personally in the world. So a lot of people will come in through perhaps the Bhakti Yoga door, or perhaps the Karma Yoga door, Jnana Yoga, Tantra, etc. And so these are ways that have resonated with you, and you start from there. And in terms of actual, and the idea is, as mentioned in the Gita, is that this triple path of bhakti and jnana and karma yoga are all to be experienced, are all to be integrated, right? So the longer term is to really not zero in on any one specific path and experience, but to experience each of them in terms of the experience of the divine that they offer, and to integrate them. And then lastly, as Vladimir mentioned, to really bring down the supramental consciousness to divinize all of Earth. I don't know if that answered the question, but there are certain methods that I will say are highly recommended that we suggest for people that are looking for some guidance. And these are methods such as silencing the mind, such as stepping back and observing. And so some ones that you're probably very familiar with can certainly be integrated and is very effective in integral yoga. So Vladimir, I'll let you add anything that you'd like.
Oh, that was wonderful. Just yoga is from Ruth Huge. Yeah, actually, Ankur wanted to answer this. I saw it in passing. Would you like to add to this? What is yoga in
No, I took
definition?
my stab at it. I want to hear from you.
All right, I will do fast. So it's from root huge to yoke, to unite. What is to be united? Heaven and earth are to be united and be equal and one. The spirit and matter, this is yoga. So in the Yoga Sutras, if you study Yoga Sutras, it is the only method how the knowledge by identity. So the object of knowing is becoming you, part of you. There is no more distinction between them. That is yoga. Yoga, when all the works of chitta are silenced and you can perceive freshly, as if newborn, the reality and know it by identity. So this is another kind of stab, a later development, but yoga is the union of spirit and matter, nothing else. Yes, Ankur.
That was great. No, yeah, I like your explanation, Dr. Vladimir. Thank you for sharing. So in the course, you both will be co-teaching, right? You'll take part of it, just like we did in this webinar. We'll
Right.
you present and engage and converse, and it's going to be on our HOA learning management system. Week by week, you'll get the Zoom link, any readings, assignments. If you haven't taken a course at HOA, this is the place to start, right? Every course is offering a place to start. And if you're here with us today and you enjoyed this, I think you really will enjoy this course. Just before, Radhaji, you touched on answering Shiraji's question, right? Are there steps? Where do you start? That last part of it, I just want to ask, so how does the transformation or the transition occur? Is it a flip of the switch? Is it an enduring experience? How do how does that transformation or transition happen at the individual level and maybe at the societal level?
Well, it is something which you have to grow into, of course. It is not something which you acquire and have in your pocket. You experience it once, twice, thrice, and you lose it every time. And you come back to it because there is nothing better than that. So you're already hooked on it. And so you are looking for it in everything you do, think, feel, interact with others. And that grows slowly into a new perception of yourself and the world and new relations in the world. It creates new society around you. Yes? So it's not something you get and you have. It's a path. It's rather a path. As they say in the Veda, man is the ever advancing pilgrim, and there is no end to this path. You will grow into consciousness more and more, becoming more and more aware of yourself and others. So it's not something you will realize and you will have once and for all. There will be certain realizations which will be very kind of tangible or which will define what you will do next. But truly speaking, as Sri Aurobindo says, there are as many paths of yoga as there are individuals. So everyone is kind of, trimming, preparing one's own path. My path is unique and I cannot propose it to you, but I can share with you my findings and my, what I discovered, my insights. And if it helps you, that's great. If not, you find your own. I hope it is not discouraging.
No, that was good. That's I take encouragement from that, right? Everyone has their own path, and you're helping us realize through your own experience in sharing. Let me just take a second. I was just looking at the LaGrasse Center. Is that how you say it?
Yes, LaGrasse.
This is pretty amazing. I didn't know beforehand. But this is your nonprofit that you're leading in South Carolina. Um, you have a international conference coming. There's a call for papers. We'll share this in our newsletter also, if that's okay. Get some more people to engage and participate from the Hindi University side. And then you're doing so much amazing work. Maybe you could just take a minute to talk about what you're doing there, and maybe if you can envision how we continue to grow our partnership between HUA and the LaGrasse Center. Put you on
Sure. So
a little
I'll
bit, but
start
yes.
with a couple of the standard programs and events that we offer, and then really ask Vladimir, who is leading some research groups and some study groups and evening readings to pitch in. But I'll just start with what we have been doing. And when I say we, I want to make sure that I recognize and honor and give gratitude to the Rama family. H.P. Rama and his extended family are really they are the benefactors of this retreat center. They are holding the vision and the space for the building and creation of a full retreat center that should be open in about 18 months. What you saw there at the beginning of the top part of the website is an estate home that we're operating out of currently on about a 300-acre property here. But there will be a full retreat center with lodging and dining and gardens and fountains, yoga, meditation, residential units, etc. On behalf of the Rama family that are funding this and holding that vision in about 16 to 18 months. And in the meantime, most of our programs, which you'll see, is online, with the exception of an annual retreat, 4-day Sri Aurobindo Integral Yoga retreat that's done only on site. It's done here in Greenville. Again, it's 4 days. We have been doing this for the last 15 years. And we've got maybe 100, 120 people from the US and even people that join us from India and Europe to come to this. So you'll see on that front page this retreat that happens every July. And on top of that, there's weekly free programs. We do something called New Perspectives, where we host integral yoga speakers from around the world for a 1-hour talk on a specific topic. And we're in the middle of kind of the holiday break, but starting in mid-January, we'll launch our next series, 5 or 6 month or 5 or 6 week series on Maheshwari, or knowledge. It was one of those 4 Mahashakti powers that Vladimir spoke about. And then we also do 2 or 3 times a year an Ayurvedic intensive, where for 4 to 5 days in a row, we'll again host Ayurvedic physicians, Ayurvedic founders of schools, practitioners, authors, and share that typically free again for our community. Those are just a couple, and I don't know, Vladimir, I'll let you speak to your study groups and research, etc.
Well, just to add a little bit that we have ongoing study groups of the Rigvedic texts. Now we are reading the hymns to Usha, to the Divine Dawn, 21 hymns of the Rigveda one by one with Sri Aurobindo's insights. Before we read the hymns to the Mystic Fire, we looked through the hymns of Agni, and we studied also Aditya's Mitra and Varuna and Ashwin's, and so it is ongoing program for many years. I do not know how many, already 8 years or so, every week. We also have other groups studying Sri Aurobindo Savitri in the evenings on Mondays. Also, the conference is important, which will be in February, and we are inviting everyone who is interested to contribute to you still can contribute your abstract and your article to this. You just look through the teams. The teams are very engaging, very important on the Vedic knowledge. Yeah? And Vedic knowledge is important for the future. Veda is the was the beginning of our spiritual knowledge, as Sri Aurobindo says. Veda will remain its end. So what does it really mean? We want to look into that. What the Veda proposes, this union of spirit and matter. This is the proposal, the sacrifice, yeah, the engagement of the spirit in material life, which was not possible to follow for some reason. So these are the groups, and there are many more groups, Sanskrit study groups. We are also teaching Sanskrit in Ayurvedic Institute, and there are other engagements and institutions we are engaged with. But please look into this upcoming conference in February 12th, 15th. By the way, February 12th is the Dayananda Saraswati's birthday. Interesting, it's one of those great scholars of the Rig Veda, whom Sri Aurobindo acknowledges as the only psychological interpretation available. Sri Aurobindo continued after him. And the 15th is Mahashivaratri. So between these 2 days, we have this conference in Surat, in our university. So please look into it and see what you can contribute. Thank you.
Amazing. I love hosting these webinars because I learn so much, and we're just so glad that we can create this kind of platform where our folks can meet you. This conference, you can click through that legrascenter.com, and down in the middle is details on the conference. I hope we'll be able to send some HUA students or participate and engage in that way. And I hope people attending today's webinar will enroll in your course. This seems like an amazing opportunity and a wonderful program that you've developed to integrate yoga and apply it. Actually, we just crossed the top of the hour. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A box. If you do have, this is your last chance to get a question in. I still have the poll. Maybe half of you have filled it out. If you can let us know if you're interested in the course. The details of the course are also in the chat. Just click through, and if you're really into it, register today. Now's the time to start, right? Yeah.
And maybe I'll just step in here and mention really quickly, Ankur, that I don't know that Vladimir mentioned this Rig Vedic conference is actually being held in Surat, India, but it will be a hybrid conference. It's being held on the campus of Aro University, which is part of a sister organization with this center. And on that campus is also another Sri Aurobindo center very similar to ours. So those that are here that can't travel, hybrid, and if you can travel, or if you're in India and can visit Surat, it would be wonderful for you to join that conference live.
Very nice. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. As always, my pleasure to host. Thank you so much, Radhiji and Vladimirji, for your insights and sharing. Amazing. I can hand it to you for any closing thoughts that you have. It's, again, my pleasure. Please do enroll in the course, join HUA, take a course, donate and contribute, show up to one of our events, subscribe to the emails, participate with our partners like Radhiji and Vladimirji. However it is, we love your engagement and participation. So with that, that's it from me. Let me hand it to Radhiji and Vladimirji to end our webinar today.
Yeah, no, I just again want to thank you, Ankur, and Hindu University of America, and for those that are joining us, we thank you for staying engaged and for asking such wonderful questions and giving us a chance to share a little bit about our passion and love for integral yoga and devotion to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother.
Yes, absolutely. I'm joining with the same idea. And, Mother says that I'm welcoming all those who are ready for this adventure. So please join us for this adventure, because this is something about us and our life in the future. It is something how we can contribute and live truly, because only with this progress we truly live. If we live only fixed onto our own small selves, it is a painful and really not really worth living life. But if we live for the higher ideal, for the manifestation of the divine in matter, in nature, in life, this is a great opportunity. So welcome all.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Enjoy the rest of your
Namaste.
weekend.
Thank you.